So
Absolutely. Well, Mark, thank
yep.
you for being here. And to the public checking in, I'm Grant from Spark Sites, and this is
Nicole with HotMod.
HotMod, and this is the Mark Firth. Now, is your handle Mark Firth online? Is that the thing everyone needs to find?
Yeah, I believe it is for LinkedIn at least.
Okay.
I have a common name. They change on every platform depending if I got there first.
Well, and I was doing your handle, and it was like Mark Firth on YouTube, which is your bigger platform, right?
Yeah, I haven't changed that, and it's too late now, so I'm stuck with this weird like string of numbers and exclamation marks.
Yeah.
Now, to the public watching, the reason that we're super excited, both of us are super excited to have Mark, is we touch base. We've seen you around Catapult now. For years.
Yeah, 2 years, 2.5 years.
And we've never really connected, and we were out and about, and we connected and heard a bit about your story. And your journey. So let's catch this up real quick. If you could give us a synopsis of what you're doing now, and then let's go back to your origin story of like from the UK to Colombia. Like, what are you doing right now? What is Mark Firth Online?
All right, so here it is in a very quick nutshell. I'm British, lived in Colombia for 11 years, and now I'm fully Central Floridian, whatever that means. So yeah, that's it really. Started I came in the United States through the business, because whilst Colombia was great, I've got a family, 2 kids, and we wanted a better life for them. People, it seems fashionable to criticize Florida, but we love it here. Absolutely love it.
It does seem fashionable, but like Nicole and I talk all the time, like we've got the beaches. I mean, you know,
and we're Floridians. Like, so I know that I kind of take a place of like, people knock it and then they're all still trying to come here. So
great.
Great.
And so what are you doing now? We were going over your website. You're a hybrid model.
Correct.
You're coaching, training, equipping. How do you give people your elevator pitch, if you will, on what you're doing?
This sounds terrible, but I am awful at elevator pitches, because the last thing I do is pitch people in an elevator, but I'll try, right? I kind of created what I needed when I got going, because when I got going, I have no family in business. I have no entrepreneurial contacts. But I knew that when we were in Colombia and our son Sam arrived, I was just like, hold on, wake up time. You need to do something, right? And there were lots of well-intentioned coaches who gave me lots of information, but I didn't know how to implement it. And there were kind of lots of agencies who would do stuff for me, but they kind of didn't get me. So I kind of built the hybrid of them together. For people that want to start a business. Our typical market would be individuals. We call them B2B consultants, but not necessarily that. And they just want to start a business. Maybe they're in corporate, maybe they've already started it. Kind of the fashionable phrase on LinkedIn is solopreneur, but I can't pronounce preneur. So that's it. We created what I needed when I got going, and it's going great. It really is.
Is that still your target client, is an entrepreneur, somebody starting out and building like their systems?
It's really interesting, because we've got people that have exited businesses and we've got people that are brand new beginners. Is very unique. I would say the common bond is not the stage of evolution in the business. It's kind of the attitude and the value system, because I market based on a value system. I'm family orientated. I've traveled. I value experiences. Family is number one. I talk about that, Florida and the beaches. So I would say it's value system driven marketing, but we also do attract beginners, medium, experience, the whole spectrum.
Do you have a favorite of like?
No, it's sorry, I didn't mean to speak over you. I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
I think we cut over. No, I don't. It's great to have the mix. It really is.
Yeah. So the reason I really wanted you on the show, Mark, you might know, I'm sure you do, we usually speak to a lot of creators, a lot of influencers, and you and I were talking a bit about that. And the reason I wanted you here is for several reasons. You are, as I understand it, a solopreneur.
Kind of.
Close to it. Kind of. You have some contractors?
Yeah, so I solopreneur is a funny phrase on LinkedIn, because the solopreneurs have agencies, contractors, and people on payroll, right?
Yes.
So it's kind of loosely.
Yeah, there's still a whole infrastructure under you know, to build something out.
Yeah.
But you know, you proudly put on your LinkedIn, generated $3.2 million in revenue, and over roughly what time period has that been?
So the first year in business, the first full year was 2018. I kind of got started in 2017, but getting started back then for me with my mindset was kind of looking at some books and feeling like I got started. Hired the mentor in 2018. We did 37,000 in 2018. 2019, we did our first 100. I can't remember the exact revenue numbers over that, but they weren't consistent over the years. But really, it's the best part of 7 years since we grew the business. It was slow. It was hard. It was difficult for me. Like, I just don't come across natural on camera. I wasn't a natural presenter. I had lots of mindset issues, you know, the whole list.
That surprises me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're so put together now. What was the biggest thing that helped you get more comfortable in front of the camera?
Can I be really cheesy and give like a platitude? I've had some great mentors over the years. And one of them said to me once, he said, Mark, why do you sit down on a chair? And I'm like, is this a trick question? He goes, no. Why do you sit down on a chair? And I don't know. He said, let me rephrase the question. If you were in front of a group of people who you valued and you didn't want to look a fool in front of them, and you decided to sit down on a chair, would you still sit down on that chair if you knew it wasn't going to support your weight and you would fall over? And I was like, well, absolutely not. And he said, that's it. You've just got to really believe that something's going to happen before you will actually do it. It's the same as sitting down on a chair, right? And so that is cheese watch, but it's almost the belief. It's almost the belief I could do it, and then it kind of started happening.
And like you had this mentor to speak into you about that, and a lot of our influencers start out slow because they are afraid of the camera. They always try to find workarounds. What was some of the material you were going through? Was there a particular speaker or a coach, or were you just doing practice time after time in front of the camera? Like, what got you comfortable? Go ahead.
So there was two things. There was another. So I was really scared to go on camera. Really scared to go on camera. And I hired this coach, and he said, "Okay, we've got the first task in this relationship." And he said, "I want you to go live on Facebook and talk about how you're launching the business." And this was like when Facebook was in fashion. I was like, I can't do that. No one knows I've got a business. I might get fired. What if people judge me? What if I look awful? He said, well, fine. And I didn't know this at the time, but he was really good. He getting past kind of these blocks. And he said, well, let's put it this way. If you don't do it, let's just refund, because I'm only going to work with people who want to make this happen. And he kind of,
wow.
And I had this Motorola phone. So I said to my wife, Paula, who you might have met in Catapult. And I was like, I'm going to go live. And it was like on this old Motorola phone, but we're going to go out after I've done it. I'm just going to turn it off. She's like, all right. So I did it, and then I came back, and I had loads of messages of support. I had loads of encouragement. I built a lot of relationships. So it was just that first step. Just Nike, just do it, right? You can do the cheese, or you can just do it, and you'll be surprised once you get over it and do it. It happens, and I've still got that video on YouTube, and I'm walking up and down the street in Colombia. It's awful. It's
in
awful.
Colombia.
Yeah, it's a reminder, though, right?
You gotta leave it.
You gotta go back. I do that. I keep those horrible first reels on Instagram just to go back and be like, man, that's cringy.
So as I understand it, you have a lot. Your infrastructure as a business, to me, seems from the outside looking in that you're more infopreneur than anything. You're selling training. You're selling courses. Is that accurate or not accurate?
Not really, because we do an element of done for you. Because we found that there's no shortage of information. And like I said at the beginning, when I got started, I was overwhelmed with information. I still didn't know what to do with it. So we actually do done-for-you content, which means we create videos, we create copy on LinkedIn for our clients. And we do that for them. So I don't actually have a product that's full-on info at the moment, but I have in the past. There's the element of coaching too. We also do the coaching. So we have like twice weekly calls where there's on average 10 to 20 people on them, because again, they need the direction. I always found it's more fulfilling when you're actually helping people with the stuff beyond the info.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Yeah. We're noticing that, like, we have a toolkit that we give or that we have the influencers use, but we've noticed that until we get on a coaching call with them and walk them through each tool and show them how to use it and why it's important, that it hasn't really been hitting home with them. They actually like sit on it until we make that call and connect with them.
Yeah, exactly. Now, when do you feel like you nailed the marketing? Do you feel like you've nailed the marketing?
Well, hopefully I will in the future. I feel we've made a lot of progress. I mean, we began as the 9-to-5 escape tribe, and then we were like the linkedpreneurs, and no one could pronounce it, let alone me. or spell it. So that wasn't a good brand. I think then we went to high profit consulting. Then we were B2B growth team, and now we're kind of bounced between B2B growth team and Mark Firth online. We haven't nailed it, but it's our niche is definitely B2B consultants. They respond to that, so we're getting there. We're getting there.
Interesting. Now, and you gave me a glimpse into like your Facebook ad world.
Yep.
And you said a phrase like, "I really do this well."
Yeah, no, we do that well. Yeah, there's one thing we do well.
And like, what were some of the principles you've learned from Facebook that tend to create more of the results you're looking for?
So just to give context, I think if anyone's starting a business, it's good to have multi-channel. Multi-channel defined as some business from LinkedIn. We have a lot of business from LinkedIn these days. Some business from YouTube. We get a lot from there, and Facebook ads. And it's just a question of getting good at it and practicing it. And the principle is this: a lot of people we was just on a call before this actually, and in a program I'm in for YouTube, and they're asking about Facebook ads, and they had and they're in a program, they're asking about it. They say, "Oh, we've got this system where we're putting some content out, and then if people watch 25% of the video, we retarget that, and then we target them, and then we've got another one." And it's just keep it stupid simple. We just set one set of ads, targeted one set of people, and if they opt in, we got their email, we're in business. That's it. And just because it gets really complicated really quickly. My objective in the business is collect an email. If someone's on my email list, I know that we've got their attention, and we've got a chance for them to become a client. That makes sense?
Yeah, it makes sense. Once you get them in your email system, do you have like an email drip campaign that you have set up to nurture them, or is it usually pretty quickly that you get them onboarded?
So not really. My market is massively cynical. And if you're watching this and you're over the age of 40, just like I am, I'm 43 on the 15th of April. I kind of feel cynicism comes with time. Is it a passage of course? And I'm kind of like 70% female and 30% male. And they want to check me out. They want to do their homework. They want to like ask all the difficult questions. So our time to client, surprisingly, is not super quick. So we do at the front end, we do a live webinar weekly. That brings a certain amount of people in. But then it can be 2 months, 3 months, 1 year, 2 years. Someone came in this January who'd been on the list 3 years. So we bring them in and we do sell on the first couple of emails, but then we kind of nurture and just my way of building the business has been always to be the best way that you can show someone that you can help them is actually by helping them and serving.
Yes.
And that's the way I do it. And it works for us at least. And that's what we do. Yeah. So we just drip out YouTube videos, and we've just started a newsletter today. First one went out. So that's it. Yeah.
Wow. Now, talking about the done for you, I've heard I think the framework is do it yourself, do it together, done for you, that sort of product. Do you know your from a revenue perspective, do you know like your mix of what % comes from done for you versus what % comes from any other streams, I guess?
So we only have one product at the moment, and that product is the hybrid coaching program. So they're in the coaching program for 6 months. They have funnel set up, which we spoke about last week. We set up the funnel, the pages. We do the content and the videos. They're the three elements. We kind of experimented all over the years, but we've kind of stuck at that for 9 months now. And that's the one thing we can that we have. I think later this year we'll launch a lower ticket. Before that, it'll kind of be a series of lead magnets and stuff. But that's the one thing we've sold for almost 7 years. That's it. But it's come in different flavors. Yeah.
When you say videos, what kind of videos are you making for them?
So we have a mutual acquaintance, Cassandra. Do you know Cassandra who's at Upwork? Cassandra's based at Upwork. What am I talking about? Upwork. That's the me getting old. 43.
Yeah.
Cassandra, who's based in Catapult, who lives in Winter Haven. As part of what we do, she interviews people, and when she's amazing at it, right? She's a ghostwriter, and she's just got this unique ability to pull all that content out of them. Once we've got the recording, it goes over to the team. They edit it into like 20 to 30 videos. We brand it. We put it in templates. We put it through feedback, and that's how we create the content. Then we have other people on team who will take that interview and make it into written posts. I mean, not AI. AI is involved in the process to kind of consolidate down the main messages, but it's not like ChatGPT make this into content, because otherwise we would probably get refund requests.
Yeah.
And then so we take that interview and make it into content with all sorts.
Wow. So it sounds like someone comes to you for you're setting up their entire business short of them actually just delivering the service.
Yeah, but the difference is compared to a full agency service, the agreement is that we make with people, we're doing this to get you going at the beginning, but the idea is you use the time and what we've created so that you can learn to do it yourself. And it's kind of like giving that cushion for them to do it. And that works really well, because I don't think I'd like a full agency, because I ran one once and it's like, I expect them to ask me to make them a sandwich. Do you know what I mean? And that's not how I want to do business. And it's kind of that nice balance. And the clients like it too, because they want to feel empowered. They want to know how to do it, and they want to know how it works and all that stuff.
This sounds really similar to HotMod. When I first opened, I ran it as an agency where I would represent the influencer and do all the negotiating and everything. But once they got the hang and got the confidence of what that process was, it was like within 3 months, they were able to do it on their own. And I was like, okay, this isn't going to work. Like, it needs to be more education based. And I'm just going to teach them how to do it. And they're empowered and they do it. And so it's like the best way. But I like the 6-month thing. We might want to think about something like that to kind of make sure they're launched probably within 3 months, but with everything they need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I assume there's a community component too to this, right? They're with you for 6 months. Like, what are some of the community components?
So we use School, which is in fashion these days. And I was very lucky in 2018. I was in the program of the co-founder, the founder of School, Sam Ovens. I was in one of his early programs. And so I knew about School when it launched. And it's just a really great community, because my market isn't exactly in love with Facebook, let's just say that. And so you get rid of all the ads and all the distraction, and you've got the feed like a Facebook group. You've got a segment for the digital, for the course component, and then you've got reminders for the calls. It's kind of made for the model we're doing, and it really just works well. And the community interacts, and they're great. I love the community. Fantastic. They all kind of support each other, and they build up referrals, and I think people stay for the community. If I'm honest, they love it. It's a cliche, isn't it? They come for the info and stay for the community, because that's what human beings do, right?
Oh, yes.
We totally agree with that.
You know, and when we talk I'm always thinking, like, how does this apply to like creators or influencers? When we talk to them, there's this idea that, well, you know, they're focused on doing paid collab brand deals, most of them.
Yep.
And then you start talking to them and realizing, well, they could have an info product or a service or a coaching product. There's other ways to monetize on the road, as you did from from UK to Colombia to Florida, you know?
Yep.
But the community pushback is always, if I start a community, I'm moderating 24/7. It's a headache. Like, how are you managing community without letting it take over? Because it could, right?
So it's a really interesting question, because we do 2 coaching calls a week. So I do one on the Monday for 1 hour and one on the Thursday for 1 hour. And people are like, well, why don't you just do 1 a week? That sounds like a lot of work. And I'm like, what did you do before now? Because 2 hours a week doesn't sound like a lot of work to me.
No, not at all. I was just thinking like that. We could fit that in.
Exactly, because when we did 1 a week, there was a huge demand on email. There's a huge demand on community. And by the time you answer a load of emails, type out the answer or type out in the community, you're actually taking longer than the 1 hour on the Thursday and Monday. So it gives people no more than 3 days without direct two-way communication. And the community kind of fills the gap, and email fills the gap. And we do a lot of challenges where people are supporting each other's posts, and like who can get the furthest reach, who can post the best meme, and that pushes them in there. And that kind of supports it. But ultimately the calls kind of hold everything together. The calls hold things together, which we found when we did the agency. It's easy when you're just a pure agency for people to feel a bit detached and to start sending messages and feel they're not accountable. The calls solve that, because you've got the great relationship. It's also very easy if you've just got community on a wall for people to feel detached from what to do. But the twice a week, it takes away all those problems, and it's not an issue. And if you've got 2 people in the business, that'd be even easier for you, right?
Yeah.
We could take an hour.
Seriously, we just break it up with like an hour with Nicole, an hour with Grant, maybe a third hour with both of us. I mean, you know.
Exactly.
I like how you explain that, like the difference between comms with clients versus just getting on a call. We did a series that the phrase was building in the open, and it was borrowed from the crypto world. You know, build in the open, show everybody what you're doing. Yeah. And so it was basically like a public community call, and we were just talking about what we were doing. And we stopped it because we didn't feel the tangible benefit. But when we stopped, we realized the intangible benefit, that we were getting a lot more requests and demands. when we weren't doing the call than when we were doing the call. So I didn't think about that until you just framed it that way. That's pretty powerful.
It reminds people that you're there, even if they're not interacting with you per se.
Yeah, and they can hop on and ask questions and just get, shortens the conversation cycle. What's that thought?
Yeah, it does. And the really interesting thing is people bond with each other when they meet each other on Zoom.
Yeah.
And they get to know each other, and they get to know. We always do the same format at the beginning. We'll do wins. Everyone shares a win if they've got one. Then we may do a short training. Then we go to calls that are submitted by questions, that are submitted via form, and then we go to the floor, which is does anyone have any questions built in on that? And that way, the people that are in a different time zone or have a really urgent issue or something that wants looking at, they've submitted it and they get the focus. And those that have questions that are coming from the other questions get them answered at the end, and it works really well.
Love it.
I love that. Mark, I think you were communicating to me that before you had your son, Samuel, right?
Yep.
Sam?
Yeah.
You kind of were drift.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Then you had Sam and you made this change.
Yeah.
What would you say to yourself who just had Sam and is like, I've got to get myself together. I'm going to start putting together this business, and it's taken several iterations. What are some of the top tips you'd go back and say, let me save you some time, son? What would you do?
I don't know. It's such a hard question, isn't it? Because my life was a mess, right? And I lived in Colombia and I was directionless. And when you live in Colombia as an expat, every single night there's a party. You've got a party every single night. You've got the embassy.
So you were partying, having fun.
You've got the embassy. You've got security workers. You've got engineers. You've got the oil industry. You've got all the English teachers. And you've got a country where they know how to party, and I got a bit lost. And I think the message I give myself first is accidentally have a kid earlier, because Sam wasn't planned, but he was the greatest. He was the greatest gift ever, and he kind of made it about more than me. And I think everyone needs different kind of direction, and I needed a direction. It's not about me; it's about more than you, Mark. And so have the kid earlier would be what I would do. And I'm so grateful for Sam and Sienna now, who's arrived. But it's just get going and trust in yourself earlier. And because I got in early, but not as early as I could have done into the internet marketing world. Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's good. That's a good framing. That's cool. And you had a similar change.
I did. It's interesting to hear it from a dad perspective, because I was really just living the life, and it wasn't until I had a kid that I was like, well, I better get myself straight. I finished my degrees. I stopped drinking. You're right. It was like, oh, so this is the meaning of life. Okay. It's way more about just the Nicole show. So kids will get your, if you've always had that drive in you anyway, it just helps you get very clear about what's important.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
So real quick,
I was going to say Lakeland's perfect for it. Go for it, Grant.
It is.
Oh yeah. Your biggest platform is YouTube. That's where you have the most amount of what you might call traditional followers or subscribers.
I would LinkedIn or YouTube. The only two I focus on are LinkedIn and YouTube.
Gotcha.
LinkedIn does bring in a lot of leads. It doesn't look as glamorous because you kind of don't see it. LinkedIn obviously is a mix between the feed and messaging, whereas YouTube is almost all video and it's all public. You don't really do the messaging. So, but LinkedIn, absolutely, the lot come from messaging, but YouTube, it always seems more glamorous because you've all got the social proof and all the likes and so forth. The two of them, but I like YouTube because it's evergreen. You put a video up there and it just keeps going.
Yeah. And the backlinking is eternal and the SEO stays with you, all that stuff. Now, a lot of influencers make the mistake of thinking they need hundreds of thousands of followers to build a decent revenue. But you are living evidence if that's not the case. Like what's your biggest following in any of these groups, or your email list? Like what's your biggest
email list is just short of 10,000.
Okay.
Wow.
In our CRM, we have like 18,000, but a lot of stuff been added in over the years, and we don't have a legal permission to email them, so we don't.
Okay.
But it's still there. We have in YouTube, I think 5,200 on LinkedIn, 13,000. And it really comes down to the email list. I think people get pulled all over with the tactics, but if you have somebody on your email list who's opted in to hear from you, email is still one of the best channels, and so everything goes back to the email list. It's still the best way to do it. And if you're reliant on YouTube, or you could get thrown off at any time. Do you know what I mean? But on email, you can download it, you can duplicate the CSV, and And it's not your data, but it's as close as you can get to being your data.
Right.
So it all comes down to the email.
Yeah.
I'm so glad. That's something that we reiterate over and over again to our influencers. And some of them, it's never dawned on them, but they're also not at the point where they're thinking like a business owner yet.
Yeah.
So we're in that beginning phase where we're helping them consider these things. So
Oh yeah, man. Yeah. Have you heard that rule of thumb that you should be, we heard this recently, and I don't know if it's proven true for you or not. You should be able to pull about $1 per opt-in on your email list a month. And not from each person per se, but the way your offerings go. Have you found that to be true? But it sounds like you've blown through that.
Yes, I have heard that. I don't think I've done the metrics on that. It's so hard because we build because people have been in the email list a long time, and also we have something that converts at the front end defined as when they first hit us and become aware of us. So we have the two things in place. But it's so hard to track. But we just have a process that we've done over and over and over and over. I've like Christine who does calls for me, and we know how to run the calls. We know what to say before the calls. We know what to send them before the calls. We know how to deal with the objections. We know how to onboard, and it's just come with time. Does that make sense? So we have blown through it, and it's all pulling all those bits together that I think people miss, and it just comes from the reps. It's like the gym, right?
Yes. Preach my language. It comes from the reps.
Yeah.
Now, how do you deal with boredom, though? As an entrepreneur, repeatable processes are what we need, but they also bore the crap out of most entrepreneurs. Are you okay doing the same thing over and over and over again?
Kind of.
I love the honesty there.
I'm actually going to change what I do because I saw it online yesterday. But we were doing 3-month cycles. So the first 3 months of this year was supposed to be YouTube. Then the next 3 months, the newsletter. Then I saw someone online talking about how they do 6-week cycles. And I think 6 weeks is what I'm going to do from now. 6-week cycles, take 2 weeks off, because that gives me enough time to make an impact and do the project, but also without getting bored and too much into it. So I think I'll do 6-week cycles, just move along and focus on the thing. Yeah.
That's a technology sprint, right? Like in technology, I come from the tech background. Those are, sprints and epics as they call them. And it creates, 4 weeks is almost too square of a number. 8 weeks is too square, but 6 weeks is its median, and it has like a good sprint pace. And what are you focusing on in that 6 week? Like any project or a particular social platform or particular marketing leg? Like what are you focusing on?
I need to do one thing at a time. It's within as much as I can within possible. With it being possible, sorry. So the first 3 months we focused on just YouTube, because YouTube, to do well, you've got to have the thumbnails dialed in, you've got to educate an editor, you've got to get good at the scripting and the systems there. Now we're building the newsletter, but the newsletter, actually, I pulled one together really quick because we're building it based on the YouTube video content, and it actually happened quicker than I thought. So the idea is to focus on the email list for the next and the lead magnets. So I think the newsletters will also become email lead magnets, and you can just bung it in AI these days, and obviously edit it, which makes it a lot quicker. So I tend to do one thing within as much reason as possible at a time. It's hard though, right? Because things pull you. Like for instance, our Stripe account got shut down in January, and that pulled me off. And things happen, right? It was back up within 24 hours, luckily, but
that's a big thing.
Yeah,
that's a big thing. That's how it goes. All right, Mark, we're at the time we promised. Where do you want people following you and seeing your stuff most?
Wherever. LinkedIn's great if we're on LinkedIn. Mark Firth, if you write Mark Firth LinkedIn, it should pull me up, or Mark Firth in YouTube, hopefully it pulls me up. But
man.
Anyway.
Well, I cannot wait till we have our follow-up coaching. For those watching, we're going to bring Mark into our world because he's got a lot to educate us on. We hope you learned something. Please check him out at Mark Firth online. And Mark, we're going to turn your camera off and wrap up, and then stick around if you can, or if you got to run, we'll catch up in a little bit. Thank you so much, sir.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Bam! That was rich. Like that
was so rich. I could just keep talking now.
I know. I'm like, I want to hang up with all the public. And get with Mark.
Can we start our program tomorrow?
Yeah. Let's start his program tomorrow. So what did you learn real quick before we let everyone go?
I love that he just reemphasized how important it is to build an email list.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Highly overlooked. And to our influencers watching, you're focused on brand deals. You're focused on your following. We encourage maturing to the next level of a business owner, and that is be multidimensional, monetize in multiple ways, but know that it's not just about your subs. Mark has, at his biggest email list, is 10,000 subs, but like, if you look at his Facebook, if you look at his YouTube, it's 5,100.
Yeah.
If you look at his LinkedIn, it's thereabouts. But then like his retargeting audience, how big is that? You need to be asking these questions.
Right.
And so we hope to bring more of that to you. So thank you so much. Check us not next Tuesday because we'll be at Sun and Fun. We'll have to check in. Watch for the updates. We'll update you on who's on next. Thank you all so much. Have a great one.